Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun. So let's take this thing back apart. We definitely want to trim the heads off just a little bit. And let's see here. Did this one go down? Yeah. Just for fun, let's try doing this. No, it's not going to grab. Okay, Nick Collier here, and we have got this thing pretty well buttoned up. It's not complete by any means, but it's close. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to pull this up in the air and connect it to the bottom part, which has been, I've been waiting to do this for, I don't know, a month or two now. So let's go ahead and do that. I got to plug in my power. Bring the hook down. We're going to swing this out into the open air. Maybe. There we go. Oops. There we go. Bring it up high enough. We're going to move all of the tools out of the way here. Drag this over. Both of these weigh, way more than, well, this one's reasonably handleable, but the other one definitely is not. Okay, let's get it a little closer. Something like that. All right, kick it over. Take one of our big honking bolts. Oh, and of course, it won't go in. Yeah, well, one more thing to adjust, but that's not a huge adjustment. I just have to take a notch out of the piece of aluminum here. Okay, well, that's not too bad. And then once we get that notch out, then the nut will slide up. And in fact, I'm thinking, wait a second. Now, it might be a really good thing not to take that notch out and just have the bolt just kind of free floating so it doesn't get lost. Nice. So we're going to take these 4 bolts out, back out. Let's raise this thing up a few, or we can just slide it out of the way. There we go. Okay, so we've got one last thing to do here. Well, no, we've got a few last things to do. One of them is to paint the surface, but the paint hasn't gotten here yet, and that's going to take a couple days anyhow. We got to disassemble this whole thing in order to do that. But while we're assembled, we're going to go ahead and do this last little piece. Now, I've kind of sketched out what I want to do here. And basically, if you look at this, where this drill bit is where the cable is going to go through. And the cable is going to grab, you know, as it grabs, let's see if I can do this. We'll pull this up. The cable will loosen, and then as it pulls, the locks grab the cable and hang on to it from one direction or the other. Now, what happens is as soon as the cable moves and releases, then the 2 cable locks kind of lose their contact with one another, and they kind of get a little cattywampus. So what I have to do is I have to come in and put a little clip on the top here in order to hold the 2 cable locks from going sideways as they go up and down. And so what I've done is I've come in with a piece of paper, little kind of thick paper, and built myself what you might see as a clip. Now what I have to do is I have to come in behind here, and this has to have a little hinge so that the paper can, as the clip or as the cable lock moves up and down, the hinge it can hinge open and closed. So now we've taken that, and that's the basic design that I want. So I've taken that and I've created the same shape with a pivot in the center. So this is going to go on that one side, and this one, another one will go on this side, and then there'll be some kind of rivet here or something that's going to hold that and not hold it tight so that it can rotate back and forth. And then, of course, there's going to be a hole someplace in the center here, too. But that comes later. Right now, what we have to build is some sleeves that come up most of the way here, except for the thickness of the metal, so that I can tighten this down and have it good and snug, and yet it's still loose on the little grippers. So we've gone over to the lathe, and we'll be back in a second because we're going to walk over to the lathe. This is the perfect project for the little 9-inch south bin. Basically, what we've just started with a piece of raw stock. Let me go grab a piece of that stock. Looks like about 1/2 inch. Put it in the lathe. And I didn't quite get that sawn. And then turn it just to kind of clean it up. And then drill a hole in it so that it fits our little, what happened to it? It's someplace, there it is. So that it fits our shoulder bolt. And then the shoulder bolt just basically goes in. And I have to, of course I have to, I just cut it off with the saw. So I'm going to come back in and do an accurate trim off so that it fits the metal and the whole thing. So, but we got one accurate side, and then the metal will go right in between here, and then then we cut it off to size. So I need to make 4 of those, and then later on we're going to make the rivet that goes in the center. But for right now, we're working on the 4. I've got 2 done, and we're going to cut the 3rd one any minute. Okay, pretty simple. We're going to come in and trim off the face. Nice. Let's kick it in gear, and we'll clean up the outside edge. And that's not the sharpest bit in the toolbox, but it's there and I'm using it, and what the hell. Come back in with the file. And just kind of clean up any rough edges. We're not looking for accuracy, just somewhat clean. And then center drill. Get a good start. Let's kick that travel out of gear because it makes a lot of noise. Pilot drill. And just start pushing our way down into that. Okay, we got 4 rough pieces, and next thing we're going to do is drill a hole in the center in each one of them, put a bolt through that hole, clamp it on this side, and just start grinding away until we get them all evenly shaped. So we'll be back. Well, hey YouTube, Nick Collier here, and we're at the last couple of little stages here, and one of the stages is painting the steel parts with an epoxy paint, and I've elected to not take the thing apart, but to paint it in place, and that way all of the joints will get painted, but then all of the places that I don't want to paint I can tape off and they can kind of stay clean. So we're going to just tape everything off here and see how it plays out. Oh yeah, and I got to come in and degrease this whole thing in order to get it to paint. So so stick with me, and we're gonna, you know, smell a bunch of fumes and whatever. Okay, so we're getting ready to apply the marine paint, and it's pretty cold in here, so I'm trying to heat up this block of steel before we actually apply the paint, and shouldn't be a problem. Because the paint, once I mix the paint, then it's about a 20-minute wait for the paint to begin to set up before I can apply it. At least that's what the directions say. All right, well, we've got all our surfaces sanded, we got all our holes filled, and it's time to put paint on. See how this goes. Nick Collier here, and I'm sure you're going to get years and years and years of good service out of this machine. So I really appreciate having the project to work on. That said, about halfway through your first job, I would turn the machine off, go back in with your wrench, tighten back up all your bolts just to make sure that none have come loose. Things move around a bit. There's a lot of pressure against this. Just, you know, snug everything up and make sure everything's good. I put a carabiner here so that you can bring your cable up and your cable can go through the carabiner. You've got the 3 major bolts, or the 4 major bolts that you have to worry about. Not worry about, but just pay attention to, are the ones that hold the rams in, because there's a lot of pressure going against those, and these 2 holes here that hold the whole ram complex in. And I made your wrench. It goes on the bolt, you snug it down, and the same with the other side. This other side of the wrench goes on this bolt, and you snug that down. Now, when you go down to this third wrench, let me make sure you can see that. Yeah, when you go down to this third bolt, you can use the same wrench. It's bigger. All you got to do is take this little spacer that's in your toolbox, put it in between the space, and then you've got a good torque that you can pull against. Okay. So let's come in a little closer. I want to show you a couple of little idiosyncrasies. If and when you do take this, you do separate these two halves, the pulley half from the ram half, you're going to notice that right down in there is a little boss. And what I did is I extended the rams and I cut just a little small groove right there to accept that boss, so that when you crank on these bolts, this shaft doesn't turn. So make sure that when you put everything back in, that it goes right into that little groove right there. You'll see it if and when you ever take it apart. It's hailing, so it's getting noisy out. The other thing is that there's 4 bolts here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 bolts go all the way through everything into the aluminum. Those you really want to make sure they're tight. And you want to check those on a regular basis. I would go ahead and once you were done with the job, go in, when you're getting ready to store it again, go in and tighten all the bolts and just make sure everything's good and snug. When the rams go in, before you put the nuts on, you need to put these bolts in first, because the manufacturer kind of put them in randomly, so I had to figure out where the holes were. And what these will do will be to locate the 2 rams in position so that the hydraulic lines fit through these holes. Then once you get that clip into position, then you come back in, you put your nuts on and tighten them up. Now I want to show you right in here. Can we see it? Let's see. No, I don't think we can see it at this point. Let me go get a flash. Okay, if you'll look down almost to the bottom there, I'm going to point at it right on there, and I'm going to put the light on it. You'll see the word up. You can put the nuts in the other direction, but it's really difficult to get them to go in. I got this direction to work fairly smoothly. Both nuts have an up sign on them. So make sure you put those in that way, and it'll be a lot less fight. Notice right here, I don't know, maybe it's better without the light. There's a stamp that says L. And on this side, a stamp that says right, or R. And that means left and right. And the corresponding boss that these sit in also have a stamp. The same thing up on the upper one. There's a left and right. So that's going to give you what you need there. Let me think about what else we need to talk about, and then I'll be back. All right, with the clips, you'll notice that one clip is higher than the other. And all of these spacers are very specific to the to the clip that they sit on right now. So when you take them apart, I would really suggest taking them apart one at a time, taking the clip off, putting a new clip back on, and keeping all of this whole configuration the same. This one is much shorter, and it has a little spacer on top that allows for the difference in height of the clips. Okay, same with the top one. So let's see, we're thinking about whatever else we need to talk about. At some point, and I'm thinking hundreds of miles of cable down the road, there's a couple of big bearings in here that will need to be replaced. And the replacement numbers are on the bearings, so you don't have to worry about that. You can get them in any bearing shop. The nut comes off there's a spacer on the inside that gives us this little space right here. And there's a couple of other spacers. You need to be very careful about how this comes apart to get it back together again. So, and you'll notice that there's a series of bolts right here. So this whole piece has to come off in order for this to come off. And then, of course, there's bolts on the back of this that come up into this plate here. Those have to come off too before you can pull the whole thing apart. You know, I'm guessing 10 years from now you'll be having to replace the bearing. But, and when that happens, this video will tell you what to do. So the castle nut on that bolt right there in the center of your backing plate really doesn't need to be tight. What you need to do is snug it down, just really finger tight, and then put that clip in that you saw. And what that, you know, those three, that one and those two back there, those three clips go into these holes right here. And so you're going to have a lot of back pressure on that will, you know, make sure that the whole thing just stays in place. So you're not going to have to worry about tightening that bolt. As I said, just snug it down. Okay, and last but not least, stashed in my storage somewhere, I found an old Montgomery Ward's toolbox. And all of your tools and your extra clips and everything are in here. Every tool that you need to take this thing apart is in here. Well, maybe except a crescent wrench to mess with the hydraulic lines. Other than that, everything you need's right there. And that will come with your kit. So one last thing I want to mention is at the tops of each of these cable locks is a letter right about the same spot, and that one's a B. Each of these cable locks is set up for each other only. So you got a bunch of them, so you got plenty to work with. Well, hey, Nick Collier here, and you know, the cable project has come and gone. It took probably, I don't know, 2 good months of working on it every day to complete that project. It was fun, and it was very, very demanding and very creative. I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed watching all the little ins and outs and mistakes and all of the other things that happened in the process. It's been out the door for about a month or so now, and so I don't have it here to show you. But you know, we got other projects. I'm working on a little Metro engine right now for my wife, and we've got 3 or 4 other projects going in here that you'll see soon. That is, if you subscribe. And if you do subscribe, I'll send you a little email every time I put something up. I try to put something up every Sunday, and sometimes I'll throw something in there, some little short thing on a Wednesday. It depends on how much time I have. Since the cable project or the sewer Slinger project went out the door, I went through a major adventure, you might call it. I ended up going to the hospital and having a double bypass of all things. And so I've been pretty much flat on my back for about, I don't know, 6 weeks or so. And not flat on my back, but, you know, not moving around a whole lot. And not up here, which was very difficult for me to do. I actually, the first 3 or 4 days I was home, I you know, barely made it up the hill into my shop and just kind of walked through the shop just to see, oh, it's all still here. Yeah. Oh my God. So after about 6 weeks, I started feeling better, and I'm starting to kind of. It's been about 8 or 9 weeks now that I'm out, and I'm feeling great. And today I spent probably I don't know 3 or 4 or 5 hours in here, having a great time, and running the machinery and listening to all the noise and so on and so forth. Uh, Anyhow, hey, join me. We have a good time in here. I try not to take on projects that are boring. Once in a while, I'll take one on, but I usually don't film it. But the more exciting jobs, I'll definitely film, and I'll put them up on YouTube. So after the cable project went to, I think it was in Oakland or Marin or someplace like that, close to San Francisco, I asked my customer to send me a video once he started using it. And he sent me the video. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to actually include it in this because it's in another format, but we're going to play around, see if we can do that. And if we're able to do it, you're going to see it right now. So, this is Nick Collier, signing out.